when Bruce does get here, this is his book called Full Horizon, and at some point he'll come knocking in the doors. He said he wanted to arrive like a poet, all disheveled and exhausted and stuff like that.
Anyway, I want to thank Tom and Travis for putting on a great act here. This is wonderful. And Dr. Royster for supporting that, and thank you everyone for being here. I see a lot of friends in the audience, and anyway, I'm going to take you on a little trip to Asia. I just got back from Asia. I was out there in January traveling, and it's really quite amazing what's going on out there, just the growth of the economy, and I think what we have to come to terms with at some time. Hong Kong, we're going to go through 3 cities, Hong Kong and Singapore and Tokyo. Hong Kong is the place that the Chinese are experimenting with capitalism, and where they allow the people that make all that money from taking all our manufacturing away to spend it. And so it's like sort of the Phipps Plaza and Lenox Square raised to some sort of exponential. So it's a big shopping center. Anyway, Hong Kong. And it's also a portal to 1 billion people, over 1 billion people, and so it's really the people that are fascinating. Hong Kong's a spew of silver and glass towers, stainless steel posts that overpopulate the mountain slopes rimming its bay. Bound together by concrete ribbons of roads and ramps, it's kinetic with crowds, double-decker buses, rickshaws, and red checkered cabs whose back doors pop open to salute you. There's great container ships tended by lighters and tugs that play dodge with junks and the Star Ferry in a blue-green bay being filled in for more buildings. Pedestrian ramps and bridges are a scurry of shoppers between the malls and tall towers. The twisted beggar has managed to climb on a walkway at rush hour and blows his little plastic pipe. He plays no particular tune. A worn hat seated with a few coins and his contorted body keep him from being trampled. Weary, he crawls back to his corner of blankets and rags next to a steaming noodle shop behind all this glitter and go. Next one is Return of the Samurai. This is Singapore, which is, this is actually an older poem, and the city itself has just visibly changed in the 3 years since I've been there. The monument that I'm talking about that was the center of the city is now sort of been superseded by a huge casino with palm trees on top. That's not in the poem. Anyway, it's called, and this is sort of how money sort of levels things in Asia. It's a comment. Anyway, called The Return of the Samurai. Having sealed his deal, the samurai sprawls on a yellow chaise by the aqua pool of the Raffles Hotel. The towers of Singapore stand at attention, ringing its bay that holds squadrons of freighters and tankers nursed by sampans. Tourists crowd a strange statue on the river quay below, a half-lion, half-beast that challenged the city's legendary founder. The mythic Merliton spews a salute. Nearby, a memorial for the citizens executed by the Japanese, but there's no monument for the Japanese bicycle battalions who pedaled through steaming jungles to surprise the British defenders with their guns facing out to sea. Samurai businessman relaxes into the sounds of his Walkman, takes a slow drag from his lark, and scatters squeamish Americans and fussy Brits with a cloud. A dark waiter with a neat white turban marches a Bloody Mary to his low-teak table, bows, happy to be of service. This is called Temple Turtle. You have to, it's well, there's a legend about turtles in the world on the back, but also you need to know what a kami is, sort of the resident deity in Shinto language, the Shinto religion, and it's something that sort of lives in a temple or in a place, mainly sort of outstanding natural features, but sort of the deity living in things. Temple turtle. Between appointments, I chance upon a shrine near the Tokyo Stock Exchange. Perhaps a firestorm survivor, cramped between modernity's jumble of stores and offices, like an old fence grown into a tree. Its ancient roof tiles tilt up to heaven, confused by a scramble of raised highways and telephone lines. Centered before the sanctuary, large cow-like bells tasseled to thick ropes summon the residing kami to grant a good examination, a job promotion, even save a broker caught in a short squeeze. A large donation box stands ready to receive the beneficence. The reverent come, ring a bell, step back, bow again, clap to be sure that fortune falls their way. A couple leaving takes water from an exquisite bamboo ladle from a clear bubbling spring near the entrance gate, and notice a tortoise, his shell echoing the ancient roof tiles, looking up through ageless eyes. Humbled, the world's been taken off his back. Now, there's a story that Bertrand Russell was once, this applies to sort of tech and divinity school, I guess, but Bertrand Russell was given a lecture on astronomy, and he described how the Earth's orbit, around the sun, and how the sun orbits around the center of a vast collection of stars called the galaxy, and our galaxy goes around, sort of endless. At the end of the lecture, a little old lady, supposedly, from the back of the room, got up and said, "What you told us is rubbish. The world is really a flat plane supported on the back of a giant tortoise." And the scientist sort of gave this superior sneer and replied, "Well, what's the tortoise standing on?" "You're a very clever young man," said the lady, "but it's turtles all the way down." I hadn't figured out the end of this poem until I taking a course on Mesoamerican religions, and this is actually a poem about a poetry reading that I went to, and I couldn't quite figure out how it's going. I've been playing with it for a long time. I think maybe Tom's heard this. It's called Monarch Migration. It seemed like a miracle, a sign. A butterfly fluttering out the window behind Yevtushenko, reading poems, then confessing his secret. His best works are motivated by shame and love. Back at my office, more monarchs flutter south through Manhattan's towering forest. In Central Park, orange bunches refuel on purple asters, sensing they must move on before the temperature falls. Each year, ahead of the thermal gradients, some decipherer of longitude and latitude, implanted in their gangula, guides orange throngs to old fir stands in Mexico's mountains. If these flutterers get to the transvolcanics, they breed and pass away in the old trees. In spring, their offspring fly back through the south, hunting milkweed for egg laying. The third generation breaks pods and takes off for long day Canadian summers, where the cycle repeats. The trip's more precarious. Storms and hurricanes blow them off course. Farmers' herbicides deplete the milkweeds, and the Mexicans are cutting their old firs. Despite all, monarchs pass on their secret over generations. They're really ancient Aztec warriors navigating the length of the Americas, come down from heaven. This migration has always amazed me. It's over 3 generations, and it keeps going on and on and on. And the ancient Aztecs and the Mesoamerican people believed that the earth was sort of centered around a great tree, and spirits went up and down this tree. And the warriors that died in battle, and those also sacrificed on the block, where they took their heart out, those all came back as butterflies and hummingbirds. They're like a Valhalla. Anyway, so that's what I think the butterflies are. Let's get this one. This is about another heaven. I've always wondered, you sort of wonder whatever happens to your old car. And I was down in Anguilla with my wife, and her family had a place down there, and this poem is called Car Heaven. The cerulean sea floats tramp steamers and catamarans at anchor in Anguilla. Palm trees and slow rusting wrecks line the port road. Abandoned autos that escape scrap melt hell and manage to make it here to Car Heaven, where they weather in the Caribbean sun and peace. One former green hulk, supine beside a lime and pink shanty, looks like my old car. 57 Chevy, souped up with fuel injection, added a floor shift and bucket seats. It was freedom with chrome spinners. I could make it home before curfew, and fumes from a quarter's worth of gas. You remember those days? How did it get here? I mean, who added the white racing stripes before stripping it for parts, turning it over to tether goats? A memorial of my early loves, transformed into a large flower pot for sprays of corianders and triumphant hibiscus, now pecked over by a colorful cock and some scrawny chickens. And this is for my dear wife, who couldn't be here tonight, whose birthday it is, and it's a big birthday, one of these big round birthdays, but she'll be here tomorrow. And as it is, our schedules don't work out. She's a doctor, and all kind of things, and anyway, we just didn't make it. And so this is for my dear Christina, called Sweet Tea. At Harborside, and this is also, this is a celebration of Georgia Tech and technology. And this is where, we do so much with NASA, and it's really the hope of our country. And let's just hope they don't cut the budget too close and take this away from us, because it's the only thing that's going to get us out of where we are. Anyway, start all over. Sweet tea for Christina. At Harborside and Port Canaveral, a free refill's my reward, having waited a week for liftoff from my waitress, whose tight NASA t-shirt reads, "Failure is not an option." As I finish my poached eggs, sleek, oversized cruise ships, like beached whales, repassenger for the weekly Caribbean run. They got quite a show last night. Pelicans riding on bobbing boats sleep off the excitement that turned night into day. The spaceship's shock waves rousted birds and even caused the fish to jump in the Banana River. When the Discovery roared into darkness like a star returning to heaven, over 2 million systems had to work. I sip my tea and salute the astronauts who dock with the space station this morning, but miss you, my dear. Ours the only system that didn't sink. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bruce. That was really close. How long had you been there before you got up? About 5 minutes? He left New York this morning at 8 o'clock, or was at the airport at 8 o'clock, right? And had all sorts of flight problems. I just want to make a couple announcements. There's a couple of really terrific young poets reading on March 2nd at Emory, Matthew and Michael Dickman. They happen to be twin brothers, but they're both terrific young poets. And I just heard Kodak, who hosts spoken word thing at Java Monkey this Sunday, Ayodele is featuring, right? Ayodele is a former presidential scholar here at Georgia Tech and who came back to serve as a visiting McEver professor a couple years ago. So I recommend both of those readings to you. If you don't know anything else about poetry at Tech, we of course have classes at Tech. I teach all year, and in the spring we bring 3 or 4 visiting McEver chair holders to teach a class. But we also have a community element, not only this reading series, which is open to everybody at Tech or anywhere in Atlanta, the community, but we offer free poetry workshops every spring, about 6 or 7 of them, day-long workshops. We also send poets into schools. If you're a teacher and you want a poet to come to your school and talk to the kids about poetry, let us know. We have a sign-up sheet out there if you want to keep getting our mail. Our emails about further readings. None of this would have happened without Ginger Murchison, who started this with me several years ago now. Ginger has been a McEver visiting chair last couple of years. She also teaches an ongoing community workshop all year round. And the last 5 years now, Travis Denton. Without these people, nothing like this can happen. I hope to see you again. Thank you very much.